Velina me Aloha. Welcome to the 13th Festival of Pacific Arts and Culture, a special broadcast for the Va'a ceremony. It is an honor beyond words for me to serve as your host today. My name is Lacey Denise, and what you can see surrounding us right now is numerous, more than 20 delegates, Pacific Island nations that have come here to Hawaii for this historic moment, as Hawaii is the first time host for this incredible festival. And I have the ultimate honor of sitting next to Liko Ho, who knows this ahupua'a very well. Aloha mai kako, Liko.
Aloha, aloha,
Talk to us about exactly where we are right now. We're kind of in between two ahupua'a, your backyard.
Yes, yeah. So we're right now we're in Hakipu'u, and then right just a few steps that way is the ahupua'a of Kualoa. And so we're right in this area. Our ohana is from this area, and we help to malama things here.
You born and raised here in this ahupua'a, sitting here in this moment right now, we can hear the music playing from all the different cultures. We can see them beautifully dressed in their adornments. We can hear their native language being spoken. How does it feel to be in this moment right now?
It's beautiful. Beautiful to me. You know, we've been here for a few days, and I think it was Thursday when the first va'a started to arrive, and pretty much every day since there's been more va'a that have come. You know, some big like Hokulea and Makali'i, and from the Cook Islands and from Tahiti, and some smaller va'a also. So we just have this huge family of va'a that are arriving with, of course, all of their peoples.
What can we expect today? You have a lot of kuleana, but as far as the ceremonies, the protocols, what can we expect today?
Yeah, so right now, the va'a have, my understanding is that they've left Mokapu and they're making their way across Kaneohe Bay, and they should be arriving pretty soon. And as they arrive, they're carrying the 28 nations, and each nation will arrive, and we're going to be welcoming them on shore. And some of their delegations will also be helping to welcome them on shore. Once everybody is on shore, we're going to move over to the ahu. And our ahu is actually right at the dividing line between Hakipu'u and Kualoa. And we're going to do a ceremony there, basically a welcome, you know, to all of our ohana from the Pacific. And then we'll have people who are sharing from the va'a community and from our community as a whole from Hawaii, and just welcome the festival, you know, here to our aina.
And speaking of welcoming, how excited are you to be standing in front of the delegates later on this morning and welcoming them?
Very excited, and very nervous too. You know, but you know, I think it's just a beautiful coming together. You know, I've been actually fortunate to be to two previous festivals. I was in Rarotonga in 1992, and then in 2000 I was in New Caledonia, and you know, it's just amazing. For anybody who's been to the festival, everybody knows what it is. For those who haven't been to the festival, this is the perfect opportunity for people of Hawaii, you know, to have the festival right in our backyard. So, you know, take as much advantage of being a part of it. You know, we'll have things happening here. I think this Saturday there's going to be a big community event for the va'a coming up. But a lot of the center of the festival, the village, is going to be at the convention center.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And so just, you know, my hope is that everybody just kind of soaks up as much as they can to, you know, our ocean ohana.
Aye. And we were just commenting earlier that it has been so cool to see all of these different cultures, hearing all these different languages, but yet seeing the pride of each, but feeling the pride of as one.
We have two more va'a arriving.
These are the va'a of Nā Pe'a, Kailua Kona.
no kailua kona Hawaii.
Eo nā pea.
O hauli uli. A me oe na inoa o nā va'a. Aloha noe nā pea. O kailua kona Hawaii. Wahiki e.
Oia. Kona kai o pua I ka la'i. Mahalo I ka ohana o kona. And how about a huge hand for all of our keiki here, helping to welcome everybody. Pai pai lima, we have our keiki of Kulani Akea, Ko'ola Aina Momona, the ohana Haki Pu'u. When you hear the kani o ka pu, that's a signal of Va'a is arriving. You'll hear the oli auwe wahitie. As it starts to go, you guys can start to jump in as well. You'll feel it, you hear it. E nawe pu.
Wow, what a spectacular ceremony so far today here at Kualoa. And we are so honored to be sitting next to Pole Master Navigator, CEO of the Polynesian Voyaging Society, Mr. Nainoa Thompson. Nainoa, thank you so much for joining us.
Honored to be here, thank you.
Before we came on air, we were talking about, you're getting a little emotional seeing all of this. What's the main draw for all of that for you?
You know, I'm old now, but I was really young and had a top waterman in Hawaii that was being, heavily recruited by the selection team for the voyage to Tahiti in 1976. He's my mentor and my coach. His name is Kalakukea. And he picks me up in his red truck and says, come on, give us that. We got to go help lash a canoe. So we drove here, right here, right behind us, the spot here. And there was nobody here. There was no canoes here. There's no sailing canoes here. There was a couple paddling canoes, but nobody was here. And we're going to lash a canoe because we lash 400-pound paddling canoes. We're going to be lashing a 24,000-pound canoe, but I didn't know. And there was, as I recall, a big crane came in, and then a flatbed with these two big giant brown hulls, and picked up the hulls and put it on the grass. And another truck came in with these big 10 iakos that hold these two hulls together. And another truck came in with, honestly, miles and spools of cotton rope to lash the canoe. Our job was to lash it, and we didn't know how. And then we made so many mistakes, but the point is, what I'm trying to get at, that was 50 years ago. And look at today. God. Yeah, our Pacific people come a long way. Being, by these vehicles that they have here, as far west as 4,000 miles, canoes from the great navigators of Micronesia, the canoes from Aotearoa, the two big voyaging canoes that sail from Tahiti, Whawhaiite, and Maru Maru Atuba, and the Cook Islands. It's hard to express this because what if they didn't launch Hokulea? What if Mao didn't come? And he was here at the launching, and we made so many mistakes. This is March 8th, we launched the canoe. March 9th, we sailed it. We broke sweeps. We went aground in sandbars. We had to be towed back. We ran aground on this beach over here, and Mao happened to be here. I didn't know who he was. And he watched it and basically said, the canoe is good, but the crew is not too good, which was just telling us how much we don't know. But look at today. People sailing Tahiti, the Cook Islands are going to sail equivalent of 12,000 miles. It's almost halfway around the planet. It's more than that at the equator, just to be here. So it's just the power of what community can do when they're united. So,
How powerful was that when you had commented that when you stepped here that you didn't recognize a lot of people, showing the growth, the growth of navigation across Moana Nui Akea.
I mean, I don't want to offend anybody, but, back in that day that Kala brought me here, I don't remember anybody in the beach of thousands of people that was here that day because they're gone. And so to think about the ability of 50 years to be able to create succession to younger generations, which is the key. It's the key. If young people keep coming, we have a future in voyaging. And so look at it. It's just, and these small sailing canoes we have, they are, our big canoes take us into the wild, into the rough. It's not a place for young children. It's just not. But the small sailing canoes are preparing them for the deep sea. And so the whole beautiful Pacific voyaging and navigation school is constructed and to allow young people to grow and be close to nature, challenge themselves, and connect to their brothers and sisters around the Pacific, that they're all here. My opinion, humble, two things. It's a love of home, these islands, that ocean, and then love of family. They're here to celebrate their family, and it only is going to make us much stronger as Pacific people because of today.
Decades ago, when you started on this journey of navigation, would you have ever imagined that you'd be here sitting today at Kualoa?
No, I could not have imagined this day. And by the way, I'm kind of nobody. I'm just a witness. It was an old story. And,
No.
So you gotta really thank Hawaii's leadership that came together. This is not an easy thing to do, to bring people from 28 countries. And if you think about the country, from Alaska to Aotearoa, from Rapa Nui to Taiwan, it's 22 million square nautical miles. How big is that? It's 11 times bigger than continental United States.
Wow.
You could put China, you could put the big countries of Russia, Canada, and U.S. into our country, and we're bigger.
Wow.
It's the most important country in the world, because our greatest challenge in the 21st century is to protect the oceans, because it protects our life that we know it. And so we need to come together. And so there's a much larger voyage to come in the next 50 years. Yes, it is about finding islands on the ocean, but it's really finding ways to protect the only island we have. It's called the Earth. And what you have to protect is the oceans. Who knows it better than Pacific Islanders?
Aye.
Yeah.
In today's ceremony, they will also be honoring your teacher, Mo.
Yeah.
How special would that be for you? And how excited are you to see his legacy continuing on?
Yeah. Well, it's really quite simple. If Mao didn't come, we wouldn't have gone. If we didn't go, today wouldn't happen. And then would we still be living in the world of ignorance? When we graduated from high school, back when I graduated, didn't know anything about who we are, because we didn't know who our ancestors were. We didn't know where they came from. We don't know how they got here, and we didn't know that the greatest navigators and voyagers on the face of the earth. It was reasons to be proud, but we didn't know because it wasn't taught. So Mao's impact is why this day even exists, and it's symbolic and real about the awakening, the rising up of Pacific people because of the canoe and because of Mao. So we cannot celebrate and thank him and his family enough. And there are 7 master navigators here from his island. 7. And including his son, the Grandmaster Cesario, the youngest in his family, is here. And there are 8 navigators graduated by Mao from Polynesia are here. And then there's Pulawat, there's Lamotrek, there's Pulasuk, there's Pulawat, there's Palau, there's Ulithi, there's Yap. Navigators. It's probably, I'm guessing that it'll be the greatest union of the best navigators in the world in modern times.
Later on today, you will be speaking at the ceremony. How excited are you to be standing in front of the delegates that have come here to Hawaii to celebrate this festival?
Well, I always get very intimidated about public speaking. I'm very good at it, and so it's always hard for me to get through that, but it's just a privilege to be able to address and thank all those thousands of people who made this happen. And you have to thank the leadership in Hawaii that came together, grassroots, that no single organization could have done this. It takes hundreds of organizations. It takes thousands of people to do that. And so many times we try things, but we don't succeed because we split apart. Not this one. they knew that they could not fail, and they stayed together. I watch it from the outside as a bystander, and this young leadership that took over and made today real. And Hawaii should be very proud of them, because it took unity and it took trust. Well, you can't have unity without trust, and you can't have trust without respect. And they came together, they stayed together, they never quit, and allowed everybody to celebrate the family.
In many ways, the FestPac is so similar to the mission of Hokulea as well, as far as having a platform where we can all come together, we can all unite, we can all exchange our cultures. How special is that for you to be a part, or for Hawaii to be a part of FestPac and to be the host of it?
Yeah. Maybe if Mao didn't come, and maybe if our kupuna didn't build us a canoe and name it Hokulea, there would be no FestPac here. Maybe. Maybe we wouldn't know anything about Micronesia and the great navigators and or Aotearoa. Maybe. Because our road of forgetting was well paved back a long time ago. So, I don't know. Maybe that's not a fair statement, but I do think that it'd be hard. You could imagine that FestPac wouldn't be. You could imagine this beach would still be empty if it wasn't for our kupuna and it wasn't for Mao. And so speaking in front of the crowd is always hard. There's a lot inside of me today because this has been my life for 50 years, the voyaging. I'm a way better sailor than I am a public speaker, but I'd much rather be out there than
You're doing a fine job. You're doing a totally fine job there, Noah.
But anyway, I'm honored to at least share that perspective of what kualoa looked like 50 years ago.
Talk about that connection between kualoa, this ahupua'a that we're in, and Hokulea.
Yeah, well, you know, maybe we should talk about Herb Kane and Dr. Ben Finney, Tommy Holmes, the founders. They were the architects of brilliance. I mean, they were the ones that, when nobody even knew what a voyaging canoe was, dreamed of it, and then built the architecture, so did the research, the groundwork, and then actually constructed the canoe. And so I take it back to them, that they had built a canoe and then gave it to us and trusted us with it. And then there would be Mao that would come where we didn't know anything. Stars are random, confusing dots of light over our heads back then. Today, they're stories. Today, they're linkages to the names of ancestors. Today, they are the paths that we follow, a little tiny light that come from 7,000 stars above us that we use to find the islands of our ancestors. I mean, it's all of that. I think Hokulea, and I'm saying this with all humility, had a lot to do with FestPac being here, and it had a lot to do with the community saying we need to honor the va'a first. We need to honor the canoes first, and we need to honor the oceans that they sailed on, the roads that they created, and we need to begin there, because it's these canoes that connect us, that allow us to understand we're one family and we're one ocean. And the big task is for me that there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about what humanity is doing to the earth, and making the linkage between what you're seeing happening on change on the planet, whether it's wildfires, whether it's storms, whether it's carbon, all these issues, and thinking about the future of these children. And there's a larger voyage in front of us. It's, again, it's about finding how to live well on the only island we have. It's called Earth. And so that, for me personally, is the destination I shoot for in the next 50 years. Today we put the stone in the ground and saying, yes, we look back at the first 50 years, but we also turn our eyes to the horizon and looking at a future that the island Earth is going to be good enough for our children. That's where I'm going.
You've been to other ceremonies like this, and this will be our last question because we have some beautiful rain. But to see these future generations up and coming, does this fuel you even more to continue on the mission of Hokulea?
They irritate me. They're so smart. Why
like
don't you
that.
be stupid like me? Well, they sailed down in 2022 to start the Moana Nui Akea. The crew was young, and half of them never sailed long, but they trained during COVID, and they trained differently. They trained two things. I don't care if you find the island. I do care about how much you care for the canoe and each other. That's more important than finding the islands. And the other is that trust this canoe.
Yeah.
Tie the sweep up. Just balance her with weight and sail trim. It's a very different mentality of voyaging and navigation. They took off with the first woman captain and navigator ever, against the senior leadership saying they're not ready. But my opinion is they have to be ready. You know, and they got to go. When are they going to go? And so I told them off down at Kumukai and let them go. And make a long story short, they found there's 17 islands in the Tuamotu archipelago, which is the first target, and they actually named the actual one the right island. They all look the same, Aratua, and they were correct. And then they set the record for time. They were the fastest voyage ever.
Wow.
So they're intimidating, they're irritating, and makes me feel like, on one hand, you know, you just get out of the way. But on the other hand, you got to thank the Maus and everybody else, because we're able to train them to be better than us. That's the way you remain strong, is when your students are better than you. Yeah.
Awesome. I know it has been an honor to be in your presence today, and we thank you so much for all the work you've done, the legacy that you continue to pass on to the future generations. I know you have a lot of kuleana today, so we'll let you go, but thank you again.